I'm back. So I've got my 250 grit stone set up here. I've got some angle guides, and I've got a Japanese water stone here ready to go. There's more efficient ways to set this up, but I'm just trying to work with a camera that has manual focus, so we've all got to be in the same field of depth. So the first thing that you've got to do, obviously, is raise a burr at your lowest grit being 250. So I'm going to get set to my angle guide here, and then very carefully kind of lock that angle in, and take the whole edge across the stone. Now I only go away from the edge in my strokes. I don't believe that to be the only way or the best way. I've seen some of the best sharpeners in the world go back and forth. I just haven't had great success with that yet. Obviously, just like any sharpening job, you want to go on that grit until you can feel a burr that makes you confident that you've created a new edge apex. I'm almost there. I'll give it a couple more. And then you want to go to the other side. Obviously a 250 grit stone is pretty rough for normal edges, and it will speed you through the process very quickly. I'm feeling confident in that burr. Make sure you feel the whole surface of it. I'm going to switch back to the other direction. Set your angle and keep it consistent. As I said, I'll show you how to make some hand angle guides in a later video if you're interested. Very easy. Most people have the tools at home to do it. Check along to make sure that you've removed that burr completely. Actually, I need to do one more pass because there's a little section, especially up at the tip, right there, that I didn't get very thoroughly, and that feels good. Okay, so now I've created a 250 grit finish on both sides of the edge. Now for the rest of the sharpening, I'm going to continue to go up in grit on one side, but I'm always going to return to the other side and gently remove the burr with the 250 grit side. So I like the edge that faces you to be shiny, because then when you pull it out and look at it, it's satisfying. However, if you are concerned about keeping your edge centered, you should note that you'll need to alternate which side the 250 grit is on every sharpening. Otherwise, it's kind of impossible to ensure that you're wearing the edge evenly on both sides, and eventually your apex will drift to one side, and your apex will drift away from the 250 grit side because it's taking off more metal. So let's see. So I like for the side that faces me to be pretty, so let's go back to this and make sure all of our burr is on the front side before we take it up to 600, which is the next stone I have. These are just steel plates with diamond dust in them. Nothing really fancy here. As I said, this is promotional and instructional about the method, more than it is about any fancy gear. Okay, the burr has returned to the back side of the edge, and we're going to take it off with this the front of the edge. We're going to take it off with this 600 grit stone. All of this will go pretty quickly because the 3V in this bark river tends to take very, very small edge damage, so I don't have a lot of dings in it. Even though it is a work knife, I don't have a lot of dings in it that will be substantial enough to take a large amount of time, at least on a 250 grit diamond stone, or 600 grit, as the case may be. So I've now got the burr to flip back to the back side. I can feel it all along the edge. So this side is finished at 600. I'm going to flip back to 250, and every time you come back to 250, this is really important, you get more and more gentle. You just barely take the burr off, okay? So one of the key things with this method is it's very difficult to the 250 grit side, or the low grit side I should say, because you can do this with any grit. is so aggressive, it will want to throw this super aggressive burr across on the other side, which is difficult to take off effectively with your finer grits of stone. And so each time you go back to the 250 grit after the initial profiling, you want to do light touch and just barely get the burr back on the other side, because essentially each step as you go further and further and further, you're lessening the amount of flakiness and burr on the edge overall, so that at the end it's much easier to strop it. I've finished, let's see, I finished the flipping the burr back with the 250 grit side, so I'm going to swap over here. Oh, actually, I've got a spot there. Sorry guys. Talking and I'm not paying as much attention as I should to my burr. As I've said, burr removal, very, very important to this process. So this is a 1000 grit waterstone, and I'm just going to set my angle and then give it a few passes. I'm going to get set back up because that's an awkward angle. Give it several passes to ensure that we've got a nice, even burr. That's not quite there. I feel much more free on a natural stone to press a little bit harder because the silica abrasives in this stone are much softer than the diamond, and it is lubricated by water. On the diamond stone, if you press really hard, I've had some small issues if you really like hammer something and then don't come back to polish it or balance it really nicely. So that's looking nice. I don't know if you can see. It's looking nice and polished to 1000 grit. It's a real small edge, because of the convex of this bark river. But I've got a burr that I feel confident with back on the other side. So back to the 250 grit stone, but even more gently. You're kind of skating it across the stone, light pressure, just to strip that metal off, not to really create a large burr on the other side. It's very, very important. I don't know where you're at in your sharpening journey, but for me, I find it to be very, very important to do a thorough check of where the burr is at, and that you can actually physically feel it. You can use sort of the fine nerves in your finger to catch things that your eyes can't see. So I'm doing a thorough check, both to make sure that this side is completely free from burr in every spot, and that this side has a small burr. And I'm pleased with that. This the burr is getting it's becoming more small and gentle as I go really, really light with that 250 grit stone. This is a 6000 grit Japanese stone, wet stone. I'll get some water on it. Pardon me for the weight. Make sure we're well lubricated here, and we'll go for it. This stone will take more strokes because it's a very, very gentle stone. It's a very, very gentle, abrasive. Kind of at an awkward angle here, guys. I'm sorry. But hey, the method is what's important, right? As long as you can replicate it and get effective results, I'm not fussed about how awkward my instructional is. Alright, let's feel that. I was definitely taking the burr off. 6000 grit, eh? For me, this really gentle 6000 grit Japanese stone creates such a small burr. Sometimes I have to work it for a bit longer, just to sort of become really confident. If I'm throwing out terms that you don't know, have no fear. I'm going to create an instructional video for sharpening by hand for beginners at a later date, and so don't be intimidated. This channel, this video, is not restricted to the experienced. It's for anybody and everybody, and I'll try to release that to give some training to those of us who haven't maybe had as much experience. Okay, I'm happy, I'm pleased with the burr that is created on that now. So I'm going to go back to my 250 grit stone, and then this moment is super key. Like, we're going to balance this edge, and you got to keep it so light, so light on the 250 grit, because it's going to want to just destroy that 6,000 grit edge if you manhandle it. So just barely touching, and then feel everything, absolutely everything. Okay, we're there up here, but this flat needs a little bit more, so I'm just gonna take your time with the angle set. Don't mess up the angle set. These angle guides are created for a 17 degree edge. The knives that I sent to Pete were created for a 20 degree edge, just so you know. So once you think you're all done, go back through it one more time, because and just get that muscle memory, okay? Like, remember exactly that angle, exactly that stroke that you used. Come back through one more time, because I find this boost in performance when I don't go just by what I can feel, but I assume there's a little bit of micro structure there that needs a little bit of extra love. And you take the time to just go through exact same angle, even lighter touch, and do the stroke or two that doesn't feel necessary. Honestly, that's one of the most important things. Okay, sorry about that. YouTube, internet, and world. Working with a camera that's maxed out the memory card. Back to this. Once you're done, what I was saying is that the removal of burr and the lightness of touch is one of the most important aspects of this sharpening method. So now that we've balanced both sides, I'll just do a quick strop. I'm stropping with the silica compound on a piece of dual ply cardboard, which you can laugh at me if you want, but it works pretty well. I start not by feel, but I just kind of like take that same angle with my edge guide, and I'll do maybe 5 strokes to make sure we've really polished that side well. After that, I'll move to about 5 strokes on the other side. Now, a danger you want to avoid is over stropping your toothy side, the side with the coarser grit, because if you remove those cutting teeth, you actually remove the very thing that gives you that aggressive cutting character, which you want to keep. After that, you'll want to feel the whole edge to see if you've raised a burr anywhere.
Sorry.
It's okay. My daughter's having a blast here. You want to feel the edge to see if you've bent it, or if there's any result from your stropping, and then lessen the amount of strokes you do. Probably go with 3. 1, 2, 3. The other side. 1, 2, 3. And then you just want to feel the whole edge. I'll post another video up about getting in touch with your edge, but at this point, everything you do to the edge, you want to be feeling along the whole thing to try to get feedback from how it's responding to the things that you're doing. I'm feeling some burr on this side, so I'm going to give that 1, and I'm getting progressively more gentle here. That feels pretty good. And then anywhere you feel this micro bending, just a bit of micro burr, you just want to hit that area really lightly until you can't feel anything anymore. Once that's done, you will find that you have a very keen edge, which still slices aggressively like a coarse edge. Let's see, this is my script over here, so let's do a comparison on cutting paper. You'll see that it can slice, it can push cut, it can curl, it can do whatever you want it to do. And you'll also find some peculiar things. I've ripped it there because I got too ambitious. Now, with this style of edge, you'll find some peculiar things. I'll give you a little teaser trailer for the upcoming video, but things such as this. This is my leg. Alright, so if you take, my arm hair is too transparent for you to see. If you take the 250 grit side of this, check this out, okay? You run it along, and for the most part, it's taken off a few hairs here and there, but for the most part, if you run it at that 17 degree angle, you're not removing much of anything. I'm seeing, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 hairs that have been taken off this side. It's really, the 70 micron teeth are kind of just combing through the hairs. If you take it at 17 degrees on the polished side, it will actually shave completely clean. Now this is proof. My leg's gonna have such an ugly bald spot. But that's okay, YouTube. This is proof that the two sides of this edge have different characteristics. They actually will perform in completely different and complementary ways. So if you want to know more about that, check out the upcoming video I have on peculiar behaviors and perceived benefits.